Hello everyone, it is Python here, and today I shall be reviewing a game known as Dead Frontier. So without further ado, let's begin. To start off with, let's explain what Dead Frontier is. Dead Frontier is a web-based MMORPG that is free to play for everyone. However, players can spend real cash in order to play with some of the mechanics of the game and gain special weapons and bonuses. And now, on to the story. It is the year 2016 and a strange virus spreads and infects humans, killing them and either turning them into mindless zombies or mutating them into bizarre mutant zombies. Some with 2 heads, and some mutating and growing to huge sizes and gaining massive amounts of strength. Now, in the year 2020, the last known bastions of human life reside between 4 outposts, known as Nastia's Holdout, Dog Stockade, Precinct 13 and Fort Pastor, each under the constant threat of the undead hordes. In Dead Frontier, the player must begin by selecting a profession. Each profession comes with its own set of skills and bonuses. Once the profession has been selected and the character's looks have been detailed, then the game begins. All players begin at level 1 inside the Holdout, and once they spawn, they are greeted by Nastia herself. They are then given full access to the outpost after a brief conversation. From the outpost, the player can store money in the bank, equip weapons and armour and heal themselves, and buy stuff from other players. From here, the player can also enter the inner city, which is crawling with the undead. However, not many are usually seen around the Holdout, but the further you get from the Holdout, the more zombies will appear, and many special zombies will appear, such as flaming zombies, which are faster and do a lot more damage than regular infected. The regular infected have different models, which allows the player to tell how much of a threat they are. For example, if the player encounters a fat zombie, that zombie will do and take more damage than the thinner one, but it is also slower. And if the player encounters a female zombie, that zombie will be faster but weaker than the male of the same type. Fighting zombies gives experience points, which levels the player's character up. Experience points are given depending on what type of zombie was killed. For example, a flaming zombie will give more XP than a fat one, which will give more XP than a regular male, which will give more experience points than a regular female. There are many different types of special infected as well. Some of them have 2 heads, some are just very fast, and there are also some, let's just say, very powerful boss zombies, including the legendary Titan. Of course, fighting zombies isn't the only thing to do in Dead Frontier. The player can also loot bodies of special infected, loot corpses on the ground, and loot houses and buildings in order to get more precious supplies such as food, medicine, weapons, ammo, and of course, money. Along with looting, the player can also do a daily mission for each outpost. If completed, the mission will give a good amount of experience points and money to the player. If a player gains a certain amount of experience points, that player will level up. When a player levels up, they gain several points that they can put into weapon proficiency and attributes such as strength. These points go towards allowing them to use better weaponry and armour. And now, onto the actual review. The game has many unique features not seen in many other games. For example, the professions of farmer and scientist each create supplies each day. The farmer makes food, and the scientist somehow makes medicine. What types of each are dependent on the level of the creator. For example, a level 5 scientist can make plasters, somehow, where a level 15 one can make antibiotics. I have no idea how to do that. This goes great with another feature that I like, and that is that higher level characters have to rely on higher level food and medication, as the lower level stuff loses its effectiveness to the player as he or she levels up by 10 levels. For example, plasters and candy work well for level 1 players, but at level 11 they will have to find better medication and food to get a good effect. or they could just use more of the lower level stuff, which becomes a tad more expensive. I also rather enjoy the random outpost attacks. The first screen outside the outpost becomes swarmed with a constant onslaught of hundreds of zombies at a time. In the background, all you hear is the ringing of the sirens getting louder and quieter as time goes on. The outpost attacks become even more fun because zombies get faster and do more damage as they lose health. And you can also gain bonus experience points depending on character nutritional levels, represented by the fork and the knife and the thing, which means an outpost attack at completely nourished nutritional status is thrilling, terrifying and highly useful, as you can level up several levels at a time. Another factor I like is the limited inventory space that increases every 10 levels. And the only other storage contains 5 slots, and you have to pay to increase that storage space. This gives a sense of urgency to plan ahead, as you can only have so much stuff at any time, meaning that the player must not only think about what he is carrying, he must also think about how much of it. I enjoy the fact there is also an optional PvP, whether it be in the city or the arena. The arena, of course, lets the players fight with no risk. The game itself is very fun and has a fantastic soundtrack, and the fact that it is still just in the beta version leaves me looking forward to the features and the quality that the game will have when the full version is released. On the downside, the game does get rather repetitive when played for long periods of time, and a lot of the time areas that can be looted are inaccessible to the player. The game is also clearly free to play but pay to win, but what can you expect from a free to play game? Besides, this only gets frustrating in player versus player matches. Also, in the older versions of the game, you could set up servers and make them private if you wanted to. This allowed you to play with just your friends. This also allowed you to select which players you could join by setting passwords onto the servers or setting limitations to levels. But sadly this was removed in the 3D version. So to sum up, good points: changing supply effectiveness, outpost attacks, zombies get tougher as they get weaker, limited storage, an awesome soundtrack and optional PvP. On the downside, repetitiveness, unreachable looting spots, and free to play but pay to win. So, in conclusion, I'd give this game about a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's a fantastic game and very fun. It has so many fantastic elements and features, although it is not without its share of flaws. The game is definitely worth at least a good try, at least until you reach level 5 and get a good feel for the game. More reviews like this will be made in the future, so feel free to stick around. Until then, fare thee well.